Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China. Of course, I'm Jerry. All the time, I'm asked, how much do I get paid by the CCP? First of all, let's get one thing straight. From a legal perspective, I could be paid directly into my bank account by the propaganda arm of the Communist Party, and I could legally answer, no, I don't get paid by the CCP, because there's no such thing as the CCP. Correctly, it's called the CPC, the Communist Party of China. But the answer is still, I don't get paid by them. Well, almost no. It's no one else's business how I make my living. But since it seems to be a topic that so many other people want to make their business, I decided to make this video answer this question once and for all by explaining how I live my life, how I gain my income, and describing how much the Communist Party actually influences me. Recently, a YouTube subscriber shared one of my videos with his friends and was asked by them how he knew I wasn't fooling him with paid propaganda. And he asked me that question, which I thought was a fair question. The simple answer is this: if it's propaganda, in the sense that the word is being used, then simply look at my articles and the research that I do. Look at my experience of life in China, the traveling, studying, and working that I've done in the last 18 years. If you still want to believe that's all propaganda because you haven't looked into how I reach my conclusions and opinions, then it's you not informing yourself and you not being critical. What I say about China is true. It's supported by evidence. And when it isn't proven or supported as being true, I express it as an opinion by using words which tell my readers and my viewers, I tell you that this is my opinion. Now, if you don't like that opinion, you have a choice. Don't watch it, don't read it. But many people do like it. Thank you. If you think it's wrong, you have the option to challenge me. If you can't, then the only thing you've got left is to accuse me of being paid to say it. And you're making yourself look quite small, like a schoolyard bully, in my opinion. You're quite entitled to do that. Just don't be surprised if it backfires on you with one of my sarcastic comments. They're littered throughout the comment section. I sometimes wish I did get paid, because I live on a small pension here. I was a police officer for 10 years in the UK. They pay me a small amount of money every month for the rest of my life. I was also lucky enough to be very well paid for the last 6 years of my working life, so I saved some money. My wife and I worked hard when we met and got married. We own a small apartment and we have no rent, and there are no rates to pay in China. So living here is very cheap when you don't have a mortgage. I have a very minor source of income when I write an article that is sold to a news outlet. Very, very rarely I will be asked to write an article, and sometimes this is a Chinese media outlet, which some people seem to think is a gotcha moment. But if you take a look at my medium.com page, you'll see I've written over 120 articles in the last 2 or 3 years. Then search me online. You'll find about 25 of them have been published, several in one Australian publication, one in a US publication, but mostly in China. The payment for them usually takes between 3 and 6 months to arrive. It usually amounts to less than 500 RMB. One, for which I was paid over 800 RMB, which is about $115, actually took 14 months to arrive, and I've forgotten all about it. In August this year, because I wrote an article published last year in June about Su Bingtian, the Olympic runner. This proved 2 points. One is that I don't always write political articles, and the other is that no one could afford to rely on publishing media in China as a part-time source of income. Over the last 2.5 years, I've earned about 12,000 RMB from Chinese media, which equates to approximately $180 or £1,450. So perhaps the best way to look at this is the media, which is not directly funded by the state, but draws its income from a range of different sources, the same way the BBC or the ABC and other state media operations do. They pay me for hours of research, writing and editing. Since I started writing in about February 2020, I've earned less than 375 RMB a month. They really pay me for my beer and nothing more. It's also the only place in which I receive any money at all from anything that could remotely be called the state. And so there you have it. That's how much the influence the Communist Party buys from me. Perhaps enough to buy me a beer once or twice a week. It's not a lot, is it? I've recently started making videos using some of the articles that I've written as the basis of a script, and it's going quite well. My YouTube channel is building solidly. One day soon, I hope I can turn this hobby that I have of writing into earning me some money. At the moment, that's just a future plan. I also do TV interviews from time to time, and I have never, not even once, been offered a payment for them. I was once told that interview attendees receive an attendance fee, but all my interviews have been online, so I guess I don't qualify for that. In any event, I've never been offered one, I've never asked for one, and I've certainly never received one. About 2 months ago, I was invited onto a CGTN radio podcast, and for the first and only time so far, I was offered a 300 RMB appearance fee. I asked the host, who was a North American here in China, if he could donate the fee to a charity of my choice instead of paying me, because I want to remain honest in saying I've never been paid for an interview in China. And that can be verified by asking the host of the show, Jason Smith. He's on Twitter as ShanGuanJwen. I'll put the link below. Last month, for the first time ever, I was invited on one of those social media influencers tour of Guangdong. I had all my expenses paid, or most of them, whilst on the trip, but needed to make my own way to Shenzhen. That's a 2-hour drive, or 500 RMB in a Didi, because I don't have a car. There was no payment, no repayment of that. We spent at least 12 hours a day on the road. We visited 4 different cities, 3 locations in each city, some of which were a 5-hour drive from the previous destination. We ate some local foods I wouldn't have otherwise tried. We saw some great places that I wouldn't have otherwise gone to. I wrote one article which was published in GD Today, one of the media outlets of the group which arranged the trip, link below, and I made one video which I placed on YouTube, where to date I still receive no monetization, again link below. I've also given many interviews to Western media, and again they never pay either, and they usually end up insulting, disparaging, or even worse, insinuating I'm being paid for doing in China what they just asked me to do for them for free. There's one other aspect about China that people who have critical thinking skills might say, that makes sense. First of all, let's agree, because it's in every media outlet in the world, that it must be true, right? The Chinese government have strict laws. At least the people who keep accusing me of shilling for them believe that they do. In China, because I'm 64 years old, it's actually illegal for me to work. I have a marriage visa, and that makes it illegal for anyone to employ me or pay me in RMB. Therefore, if the government were paying me, both they and I would be breaking their own laws. So the logic they have is I'm illegally getting money in an authoritarian state that willingly allows me to break the law so that they can knowingly break another law when they reward me for it. Somehow that doesn't make much sense. Believe me, Chinese government bodies do not break central government laws willingly or knowingly, nor do they encourage or enable foreigners, especially retired foreigners, to do so. One final point, the people who often allege this are often actually paid themselves. For example, several people in ASPI, funded by the defense and military-industrial complex. Those organizations have made allegations. Benedict Rogers, employed by his own charity, Hong Kong Watch, and receiving payments from sources such as the National Endowment for Democracy, has made the allegation to me. And to these people I've always said, if you think it's true, please appoint an auditor of your choice. Give me their details. I will open my bank accounts to them whilst I await your apology. So now you know. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and as always, I'll always try to answer them. Thanks once again for watching. Please do the usual things: like, subscribe, share. Sharing, please, because this information does not get out unless it's shared by people who understand it. So thank you once again for watching. See you next time.